Hey everyone, welcome to today's video. Today we're going to be discussing the current difficulty of Tom Clancy's The Division 2. And this is because a lot of comments and a lot of concerns have been surfacing around the community that the game is now too difficult in terms of, since when the patch dropped and all that. But I think one of the things that a lot of people are probably not putting into context was something that the developers said in the last state of the game when they addressed it. Now, I'm not going to go pull the footage because, Hamish kind of had to, I would say, improvise his answer, but there wasn't like a scripted response to it. But it was along the lines of they felt that all the gear and all the resources required to be successful in the game are available for everyone. And after a while, once the community, gets to interact with all of the changes in more depth, then if things are still scaling out of hand, they'll intervene and then start to maybe see if difficulty will change. And so this was pretty much their response. So probably for the next 2 to maybe even the next 3 months, we're probably not going to be seeing any of these difficulty tweaks because people are still going to be interacting with different aspects of the content, different things that can, show up from there. And the developers are going to be getting data and getting feedback in terms of all of that. Now, that brings me to where I actually give my own opinion and talk about some of the things I've also been hearing from the community regarding the game difficulty. So first of all, the game now has a lot of difficulty settings, a whole lot of difficulty parameters that you can use in order to give yourself anything from a regular Division experience all the way to, Dark Souls. Whatever it is you want, the game is going to give it to you. So you can go to the open world change from normal to hard to challenging to heroic. And every single thing will respond in that way. You can use it also to level up control points instantly and play the control points at the hardest difficulty, which is also pretty cool. And I think this is something that the developers added there to be able to create different layers of play, which then tells me that it's something that the community had also been saying in the first place. Remember, in Title Update 6, a lot of people were also saying that the game was also very easy. They said the game felt too easy because you had all these builds, you had all these skills, you had everything, you could do it all by yourself. So I think the developers looked at that and said, okay, how can we provide a challenging experience for a game that's already received a lot of maturity from the audience? We've played this game for a year now, and so we kind of know the ropes of kind of how things are structured. Every mission in DC, where spawn areas could be, where activities are in the open world, so you have a feel for everything. And I think they went back and reiterated the same level of difficulty that the game was at when it released. For those who played the game on release, it felt exactly like this. I don't think there's much of a difference as to how the game felt. Even if you stacked up all the talent and stacked up everything that was still there, your armor and everything still melted very fast in terms of how they took you out. Now, if we look at the math though, that's the one thing that the game has always suffered from. Even from the beginning of the game, even if you stacked a bunch of armor, enemy damage was a little bit weird in the way that it took out your armor. There was no payoff for you stacking a whole bunch of armor and being strong. You couldn't tank any damage in that sense. And right now, we're seeing where people are saying, I have 1 million in armor and I still cannot tank any kind of enemy damage. And so the developers are going to have to actually address that system for all of these difficulty changes to make sense. Because if they come and say, okay, actually enemy damage is around this, somebody had 800,000 armor and put on Reddit how they just got shredded in less than a second. The NPCs just rushed them and just loaded them with all this damage and they were done. And even in some cases, they do so much damage, concentrated damage on you, that your revive hive can't even get you up. Then they changed the mechanic to where if you get revived and you try to put on your armor kit, usually there's a small buff that used to be in the game that did not allow for you to take any damage while you were using your armor kit immediately after reviving. But now that mechanic is no longer there, even adding a different layer of difficulty. So put all this together, it's kind of throwing a lot of people for a loop. People who had been gone for a while, people who are new, and even some players that are like, whoa, what's going on here? But nonetheless, I think what the developers have said is actually quite correct in the sense that the more you continue to interact with the game, the more you're going to see that you're capable of actually doing a lot of the content. Yes, it will be challenging, it will be difficult, but as you're using your recalibration library to make your players and to make your player and your stats stronger, you're going to start seeing that you're capable of actually running and gunning even in the challenging difficulty mode, in a group play anyways. Now, how do I know? If you watch this particular video, I'm using a video clip from challenging difficulty where I was playing to do a weekly project. And I match made with some people, and two of them just left in the beginning of Capitol building, just basically at the entrance, and they just bounced because they couldn't take on the difficulty. Well, we got two other people who jumped in, and we all ran through the challenging mission and did the job very well. It was fairly easy, actually. And if you consider when I kind of got, when New York jumped in, a bunch of people jumped in and said, we're going to go do challenging, and they got, humble pie served to them, and then they ran back to the recalibration library. So as you continue to build, as you continue to get better stats, better gear, better weapons, better knowledge of how the systems are working right now, and a better discipline on the new style of playing, the game eventually starts to get easier. All the way through even the heroic difficulty in group settings for things like control points. That is the only place I would tell you that I've experienced the difficulty up to, and I can tell you that it does get better as you and your team are geared up, coordinated, and knowledgeable. Anything after that, like heroic and legendary in terms of missions, in terms of bounties and all that stuff, those things can be tricky. Control points, we already kind of know how those work in terms of level 4. You just kind of wait for the enemy NPCs in DC. But then even when you go to New York, you have to deal with the Rikers, who are also new in a sense to us, the way their mechanics work, and even the cleaners. Those provide another layer of difficulty that we have to also get used to as well. I have noticed that New York is somewhat challenging by itself because of the enemy types alone, and that's not because those enemies deal better damage, they're just different in their AI. If many of you remember Drew, I can't remember his last name. He came on the State of the Games, and he came on the the live streams, the post streams, talking about how they had improved the AI. This is exactly the improvement that you're seeing. If you're playing heroic, they're going to be rushing you, they're going to be closing on you, they're going to be playing differently. These kinds of pressures are very different for us because the AI had been somewhat okay, but now they've just giving them a little boost of what's going on. So is the game difficult? I don't think it is difficult in terms of everything that you can play all the way through challenging, and then even some heroic content, as long as you use the knowledge that's in the game, as long as you build right, and as long as you actually follow the systems that are available. There are a lot of build ideas out there. I mean, some people are like, oh, the game is so hard, and you're burying your head in the sand. Get on YouTube, go on JetForce channel. He has a True Patriot build. Go around. I mean, this is not even based on the IWI Negev that got nerfed because that weapon was just scaling out of hand. These are builds that are viable. You can get a striker's gear set. I mean, the chest piece might be a pain to get, but a striker's 4 set will get you somewhere. You can get the 15% weapon damage gloves. You can get a weapon that actually rolls good weapon damage. As you continue to farm, you'll get these things, and you start to notice that there's actually a difference in your agent. Your agent's going to be getting stronger as you start rolling those pieces on there. In fact, I found a shotgun build that somebody had actually done. I was playing just a random match-made mission, and I kept hearing somebody in our group using a shotgun, and they were melting everybody. If I turn around, the NPCs had disappeared. I was like, what is going on? So I inspected this guy's build, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is such a creative build, because there's only a limited number of YouTubers, and so everyone's just gonna make the video that they're able to make in that sense, if you understand what I mean. There are more of the gamers out there who have better ideas, who have better build implementations that every single one of us can learn from. And so what I did was I replicated that build to the best of my ability, and I'm gonna make a video. I don't usually do build videos because everyone's like, oh, your build's not min. I'm like, get out of here. I'm gonna share the idea and the concept so people can see how well some of these builds actually do work in certain levels. And then if you're a solo player, or if you're playing a duo, I think that your best bet is to play things that actually work for you to get you to where you need. An example is like maybe blueprints. You know, you want to farm blueprints and you want to get, something like maybe the striker blueprints. If you can get it from doing the vendors or the projects, or even by doing the level 4 control points. If you're a team of 2 or 3 and, you guys don't really know each other, you just called for help, do things that are able to serve everybody in the group. If you're a solo player and you want to go solo level 4 control point, it's going to be very challenging. It will, that's a heroic control point. So expect to, have to respawn many times. I think that's just the nature of the game currently. But then in terms of legendary, and in some instances of heroic missions, and in some factions, there is that level of difficulty that seems to be able to scale in a weird way. But there's also our inexperience as players who have only had about 5 days to deal with an entire new system in the game. So let's give this game 1 or 2 months and let's see what's going on. Now, I know people would disagree with me and say, oh, they messed up the game, they messed up my build and all that. Get out of your safe house and go farm, and you'll find out that your agent is actually able to get OP as heck. Like, really, like, you can do a crit build that will be very powerful with almost any gear that you want to put together. It's just so versatile right now. There's actually a talent called Versatile, one of the best backpack talents I've seen in a long time. There's so many things out there that you can build with, and there's only so much every single YouTuber can put out, because everyone's going to be testing stuff, or even in some cases, God forbid, having fun with what they found and discovered before they get around to other things. So I think this is pretty much where I am. I'm, in a sense, I wouldn't want for the difficulty of the NPCs to actually be reduced, but I would like to see that, a pathway for us as players to actually get stronger. Because if they put this kind of like heroic, I tried heroic for like 20 seconds, legendary for like 20 seconds just by myself, just to see what it's about. All these Black Tusk vehicles were moving like they were in fast forward times 10. They will catch up with you and chase you everywhere through the map. Like, you have to run away to your mommy, the way they've designed it, if you understand what I mean. So I'm thinking to myself, how can regular agents fight against something like this? Maybe there is a playbook that somewhere, maybe somebody's got to dress up in or gear up in a different way. Maybe someone's got to use different kinds of skills to chop down their armor, or maybe they do have weaknesses that have been coded into them that we are yet to find out. So until then, though, I think we need to just kind of, say, okay, we're going to keep exploring. We're going to continue, to farm, get our agents, try different builds. And then, we're going to start dealing with all the other stuff. It's amazing how I would answer a call, right? Somebody will put out a call and then they're doing a level 4 control point on open world heroic with 5 different levels of directives. And I'm like, guys, we have not found out how we can do stuff like this yet. Why are you torturing yourself? It's not like the gear drops even make it worth it anyways right now. So, and that's another thing too, the rewards that also come with it. Is the game rewarding us for doing these very difficult missions? So far, everything below heroic that I've done, below legendary, which I've never done any legendaries, but I've done the heroic control points, have all seemed to give just the regular rewards, nothing crazy. So this is pretty much my opinion. I don't know if I even came to a conclusion in terms of all of this, but if I didn't give a conclusion that's satisfactory to you, then I think it still goes to show that it's too early to conclude and it's really too early to judge. But the one thing I've seen is I've seen my agent actually progress very well and actually get better over time, to the point that I'm just quite impressed as to how, easy it is to also progress and how significant your progression shows. But the place that I kind of don't have any faith is at the legendary level. Like, how are we going to accomplish this? But who knows? There's only so much that everybody knows. Nobody knows everything. I'm here to learn and just tell you guys what I've learned. So thank you very much for engaging the video. Let me hear what you think in the comment section. I really, want to read what you guys think so far in terms of the difficulty. I know we're going to get different opinions, but that's exactly why we're here. And, we're going to keep this conversation going. So I guess I'm going to see you guys later. I'll get out of your hair. If you have not subscribed to the Gaming Daddy channel, feel free to do so. We talk about the game in all different facets, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.